We are going to discuss about Binay, that how the offenses and the punishment they have been discussed in our Binay. How Binay discusses about all the offenses which have been committed by our monks and nuns, and how all these have been the punishment related with the any offense which have been discussed in our Binay, especially in Parajika and Pachitya. So we are going to discuss one by one. Before going to discuss about all these things, let us discuss that what is Binay and how it has been defined in our Pali text. And we are quite aware that our teachings of the Buddha have been compiled and which is called as Tipitaka. So in the beginning, we had also discussed that what is Tipitaka. Tipitaka is of three collections of the teachings of the Buddha, namely Vinay Pitaka, Sutta Pitaka, and Abhidhamma Pitaka. So Vinay Pitaka has been treated as one of the first Pitaka collections of the teachings of the Buddha because it discusses about the monastic rules and regulations for the monks and nuns, and how it discusses about the code of conduct for the monks and nuns. So we are going to discuss about these things. So there are three collections of the teachings of the Buddha. The Pitaka, in a very brief manner, I will discuss that Pitaka is the name of the teachings of the Buddha which have been compiled in a box or the Pitari or Manjusa. So whenever we say any box or any Manjusa or Pitari, there is also sense of belongings which have been kept in that box or Manjusa or Pitari. In the same way, whenever we say the Pitaka, so Pitaka is the name of the container in which the teachings of the Buddha have been compiled together. And it has been defined by Acharya Buddha Ghosh as Pitkam Pitkath Vidu Paryatti Bhajanatho Aho Ten Samodhanitva Vinay Adayo Piyanya. So the knower of the meaning of Pitak says that it is Pitak in the sense of Bhajan and Paryatti. Paryatti means that is the teachings of the Buddha, and Bhajan means the container which keeps or preserves the teachings of the Buddha, that is called as Pitaka. And there are three Pitakas, namely Vinay Pitaka, Sutta Pitaka, and Abhidhamma Pitaka. First, we are going to discuss, and then we will discuss some of the rules and regulations, how they have been discussed in our Vinay Pitaka in the five texts. So we'll discuss in a very brief manner. And Vinay, we are also, as a student of Pali, you might be knowing that there are so many meanings of the Vinay also. The literal meaning of Vinay is discipline, that which makes a person disciplined. That is the Vinay. Or it is another sense of the trainings also. Vinay means the trainings which are prescribed for the monks and nuns. This is called as Vinaya. But if you go the literal meaning, Vinay is made up of two words, Vi and Nay. Vi means Vises, Pakarena, that is the special, and Nay means that which takes a being. So literal meaning of Vinay is that which takes a being from the state of suffering to the state of eternal bliss. And it is another sense that Vinay is the trainings which take a persons in the direction of purification. That is a state of eternal bliss. So that is the literal meaning of Vinay. But here, whenever we are talking about the Vinay Pitaka, it is mainly devoted in explaining or exposition of the rules and regulations for the monks and nuns. So Vinay Pitaka is the name of the collections of the teachings of the Buddha, which discusses about the monastic rules and regulations meant for monks and nuns. This is Vinay Pitaka, the definition of the Vinay. And it has been defined by Acharya Buddha Ghosh also in Sumangal Bilasani or in Athasalini also and in Samanta Pasadika that Vinay Pitaka is Vivid Vises Vivid Visesanayatta Vinayato Chev Kaya Vachanam Vinayat Buduhi Ayam Vinyo Vinyopiya Khatam. So here Vivid Visesanayatta that taking the special and several kinds of norms. Vivid Visesanayatta Vinayato Che Kaya Vachanam. The trainings or the rules which are meant for the physical and vocal. That is the three types of kaik, physical, panati pata, adinadana, kamesu mikchachara, and four types of vocal. They are namely Musavada, Pisunavacha, Farusavacha, and Samphalapa. So these four types of vocal and three types of physical, the trainings of these physical and vocal norms, this is called as Vinay. So there are several and special norms related with the physical and vocal norms which have been compiled together. And the knower of the meaning of Vinay says that it is Vinay Pitaka or it is Vinay and Vinay. विविध विशेषणयता विनियतो चेव काया वाचनम विनियत विदुहियम विनियो विनियोपि और khatam. So this is the Vinay, you can say. So literal is the Vinay Pitaka is the name of collections of the teachings of the Buddha, which are discussing the rules and regulations for the monastic life related with the monks, bhikkhu, and bhikkhunis, that is the nuns. For understanding of the Vinay Pitaka, there are three attributes: Anadesana, Jathaparad Sasanam, and Sambar Asambar Katha. I have given you the reading materials also. You can go through these reading material, then you will find that what is Ana Desana. Desana means that is the preachings or the teachings. Ana means that is the order. That the teachings which are in the form of order, that you have been prescribed to perform these duties related with the monastic rules and regulations related with your physical and vocal deeds. This is called as Anadesana. So the teachings which are in the form of order prescribed in Parajika, Pachitya, this is called as Anadesana. So this Anadesana has been discussed in a very detailed manner in the text, our Vinay Pitaka in commentaries also. I am not going, but in a very brief manner, that the rules which have been prescribed for monks and nuns, this is in the form of order. This is called Anadesana. Second is the Jatha Parad Sasanam. Sasana means order. Jatha means accordingly. Aparadha means punishment. So the order which prescribes the punishment accordingly to their offenses, this is called as Jatha Parada Sasanam. That in the Vinay Pitaka, the teachings which are meant for the punishment related with the offenses which have been committed by our monks and nuns, this is called as Jatha Parad. If a monk or nun commits offense related with the Parajika or Sanghadeses, he or she is being punished by the Sangha accordingly as per the rules which have been given in the Parajika and Sanghadisesa. So this is called as Jatha Parad Sasanam. And third is Sambar Asambar Katha. Sambar means restrainment and Asambar means not restrainment. So there are some rules which have been given, which are meant for the monks and nuns. They are given in the sense of restrainment related with their senses, that how you have to restrain your senses and how you have to restrain your physical and vocal actions, how you have to perform your physical and vocal actions. So the Binay rules which proceeds, which have been given under the putting restraints, not putting restraints, this is called in Sambar Ashambar. Katha means the discourses or the teachings. So discourses which have been given in the Binay Pitaka in the sense of guarding our senses, how we have to put our senses restrained by performing the rules for the monks and nuns. This is called as Sambar Asambar Katha. So these are the three attributes for understanding the Binay. Now we are coming to the a very brief description of the all the texts which are coming under Binay Pitaka. There are 5 texts under the Binay Pitaka, namely Mahavagga, Chulabagga, Parajika, Pachitya, and Parivar. So these are the 5 texts. They have been classified in another way also. There is a classification Khandaka, Vibhanga, and Parivar. Under the Khandaka, there are 2 texts, Mahavagga and Chulabagga. And under the Vibhanga, there are 2 texts, Parajika and Pachitya, and Parivar is the independent text. So in a very brief manner, I will discuss the contents of the all 5 texts. Then we will discuss about the Parajika and Pachitya related with the Patimokha, which discusses about the code of conduct for the monks and nuns in Vinaya. Mahavagga is the first text of Vinaya Pitaka, which discusses about the traditional history of Buddhism. After getting enlightenment at a Bodhi tree at Bodh Gaya, he preached, he uttered the first utterances that Aneka Jati Sansaram Sandhavis Anavisam Gahkarak Gavasanto Dukha Jati Punapuna Gahkarak Dittosi Punam Giham Na Kahasi Sabbati Pasuka Bhagga Gahkatam Bisankitam Tanhanam Khay Maj Bisankhar Gatam Chittam Tanhanam Khay Majagati. Both says, according to Udan, there are 2 utterances according to our Udan text. The first utterance of the Buddha after getting enlightenment is that from the several births I suffered suffering, but now, O house builder, you have been seen. Now you cannot give me suffering again. All my desires have been removed, all the raptures related with the Panchakhandhas, they have been removed, and now I cannot get suffering more again. So this is the utterances according to Udan. But according to Mahavagga, the first utterances of the Buddha was Yada Have Patu Bhavantu Dhamma. Like that, Buddha says that this is the Avijja Pache, Sankhara, Sankhara Pache, Byan, Byan Pache, Namrup Pache, Faso, Faso Pache, Vedana, like the 12 links of the law of dependent originations, Dwadas Nidan, in Anulomane and Patilomane. He utters like that. And after that, he comes to Saranath, Rishipatan Mrigdav, and he preached Panchavaggiya Bhikkhu, fivefold monks, and there he preached the middle path. I am not going to in a very detailed manner, but how the traditional history of Buddhism after getting enlightenment of the Buddha has been depicted in the Mahavagga. There are 12 chapters in the Mahavagga. So the first chapter discusses about the Panchavaggiya Dhammacakkappavattana Sutta, which was preached by the Buddha at Saranath, Rishiptanbikdao. And then from there, how the Sangha was created, how the Yas with 54 friends, they come to the Buddha, and the Sangha was formed with the 61 members of the all together, including Buddha. So this is the beginning of the Sangha, how Sangha was established after getting enlightenment. And there Buddha from Sarnath, Rishipatan he goes to Nalanda, Rajgir, and then for the 45 years he preaches the teachings. Then there is a discussion about Sariputta Moggallana Pavaja, how Sariputta and Moggallana were given ordinations. And then there is a Das Sikhapad. Buddha prescribes the Das Sikhapad for the laity. And then there are other chapters which are discussing about the Basavas, Upo Sat Sarvani, and then Pavarana, and other ceremonies which are celebrated in the Sangha. So all the 12 chapters discusses about the traditional history of Buddhism. The second text is Chulvagga. As we know that Chul means a small, Vagga means chapters or Kand, that is the small portions. So there are also 12 chapters in under the Chulvagga. If you go through the material, then you will find that how in the Chulvagga, the minor rules and regulations for the monks and nuns, how the monks and nuns have to behave to the members of the society, what are the utensils or the how they have to wear the clothage or chivara, how they have to, the minor rules and regulations, they have been discussed in our Chulvagga. The last two chapters of Chulvagga are very important in the sense of history of Buddhism, that the first Buddhist council and second Buddhist council, they have been discussed in the last two chapters of Chulvagga. The 11th chapter is named as a Panchasatika, where the 500 monks participated in the first Buddhist council, which was held in Rajgir just after 3 months after the Mahaparinibbana of the Buddha. And the last chapter, 12th chapter, discusses about, which is titled as Satta Satika, that 700 monks who participated in the second Buddhist council, which was held in Vaisali just after 100 years of Mahaparinibbana of the Buddha. So this is the Chulvagga, which discusses about the minor rules and regulations for the monks and nuns, as well as first Buddhist council and second Buddhist council. Vesaj Khandaka, they are also available in Mahavagga, and some rules and regulations, they have been discussed in our Chulvagga. Now we are coming to the Parajika and Pachitya under the Vibhanga part of our Vinay Pitaka. Before understanding of Parajika and Pachitya, let us discuss the Patimukha. There is a text which is called as a Patimukha. Patimukha is made up of two words, Pati and Mukha. Pati iti rakhati, mukho iti mukhayati apaikehi akuslehi dhammehi. That Patimukha is that which makes free and Mukhati Apaikehi Akuslehi Dhammehi, which makes free from the immoral dhammas. That is the literal meaning of Pati Mokha. In Sanskrit, it is called as Prati Moksha. Prati Moksha, that this is the name of the book which discusses about the code and conduct which are meant for the monks and nuns. So these have been put together in a book that is called as Patimukha. It is of two types, Bhikkhu Patimukha and Bhikkhuni Patimukha. Under the Bhikkhu Patimukha, as the name appears, that it is only meant for the monks. There are 227 rules for the monks, and there are 311 rules for the nuns, which comes under the Bhikkhuni Patimukha. There are 8 headings under the Bhikkhu Patimukha. If you go through the text, then you will find Parajika, Sanghati Sesa, Anita Dhamma, Pachitya, Nisagya Pachitya, Patidesniya, Adhikaran Samatha. So these are the 8 headings. There are 7 headings under the Bhikkhuni Patimukha, consisting 311 rules. There is no Anita Dhamma for the nuns. The third heading is Anita Dhamma, that not fixed. There are 2 rules for the Anita Dhamma, which were suggested by Visakha Migar Mata to the Buddha. Since these 2 rules were meant for the monks only, so they were included under the Bhikkhu Patimukha. So now we are going to discuss Parajika and Pachitya, that how this under the Parajika there are Parajika, Sanghadises and Anita Dhamma, and in the Pachitya there is Nisagya Pachitya, Pachitya and other Patidesniya, Adhakaran Samatha. These other headings are related there. So there are 2 divisions of these, and these all rules, 227 rules for the monks and 311 rules, which have been divided under the 8 headings for the monks and the 7 headings for the nuns. They have been compiled in these 2 texts, namely Parajika and Sanghadisesa. So if you go through the Parajika and Sanghadisesa, there are discussion related with the rules for the monks and for the nuns also. Suppose there are 4 types of Parajika Dhamma for the monk, Bhikkhu Patimukha. But for Bhikkhuni Patimukha, there are 8 types of Parajika Dhamma. So they have been discussed under the Bhikkhuni Patimukha, that is the Bhikkhuni Parajika. In the same manner, Sanghadisesa, there are 13 types of Sanghadisesa, and they have been also discussed under the Bhikkhuni Sanghadisesa. But the number of Sanghadisesa rules are differing from the Bhikkhu Sanghadisesa. There are 13 under the Bhikkhu Sanghadisesa, but for the Bhikkhuni Sanghadisesa, there are 17 types of rules which have been prescribed. So this type of Parajika, and there are 2 Anita Dhamma, they have been discussed in our Vinaya, that is the Parajika text. So Parajika text discusses about the 4 Parajika Dhammas for the monks, 8 Parajika Dhammas for the nuns, and 13 Sanghadisesa Dhammas for the Bhikkhu, and 17 Sanghadisesa Dhammas for the nuns, and 2 Anita Dhamma for the Bhikkhu. These have been discussed all together in a very detailed manner in the text Parajika. Parajika means yo parajito bhavam parajika hoti. That if there are 4 rules for the monks or 8 rules for the nuns, if a bhikkhu or bhikkhuni commits any offense related with the 4 rules or 8 rules for the monks or nuns parajika, then he is being punished. He parajito, he is defeated by that rules also, and he is expelled from the sangha as per the rules which have been given in. And all these rules, whatever the 227 rules for the monks and 311 rules for the nuns, which have been discussed in the Parajika and Pachitya text, they have been framed not in a certain way, manner, but when the situation arose in the Sangha related with any offense, then this rule was framed. So there were so many, you can say, years for framing all 227 rules for the monks and 311 rules for the nuns. So it took time for framing the Parajika and Sanghadishis. I will come the last text also, Parivar. So Parivar is the index of the book. All the rules, 227 rules for the monks and 311 rules for the nuns. So Parivar is the index of all the rules which are coming under the Parajika and Sanghadishis. And it gives the index. And it was compiled by a Sinhalese monk in the 17th century. Since the index of all the rules and regulations for the monks and nuns are taken from the Parajika and Pachitya text, it is also considered as one of the texts of Vinay Pitaka. It is called as Therasus, or you can say dictionary of our monks and nuns for going through the rules and regulations. So I will come later on. So this is the Parajika. If you go through the text, Parajika, one rule has been framed, and if you go through the Samanta Pasadika, then commentary discusses about that, how this any rule has been framed, what was the situation and what was the circumstances under which this rule has been framed by the Sangha. And this has been discussed in a very detailed manner in our Parajika and Sanghadishesa. So Parajika, the text, it has been said that Parajiko hoti ti parajito hoti. Parajayam apanno. That this is the definition given in the commentary, that a person or a bhikkhu or bhikkhuni who commits any rules or offense related with the Parajika, and he is being treated as a defeated. So that is why bhikkhu or bhikkhuni, he is said that parajito hoti, that he is being defeated, and in this sense it is called as parajika. So there are 8 Parajika Dhammas and 17 types of Sanghadishis for the nuns also, which have been discussed. I am not going to discuss all these things in a detailed manner, but that these rules for the monks and nuns under the Parajika headings, they were framed upon the situations which arose related with the monks and nuns in so this is the Parajika, the literal meaning of Parajika, that one who is being defeated, that Parajiko hoti ti parajito hoti. Parajayam apanno, that he is attained with the parajay, that is the defeat. That is why it is called as Parajika. And Sanghadishesa, there are 3 terms under the Sanghadishesa. If you go through the Sangha, Adi, and Sesa. Adi means beginning, Sesa means end. When there is a permission from the Sangha in the beginning and in the end of any punishment of the offense related with the monks and nuns. This is called as Sangha Adi Ses. There is a permission from the Sangha or assembly in the beginning or in the end also. So this is called as infliction of punishment. And there are two types of punishment under this Sanghati says. They are called as parivas or and manatta. So this parivas and manatta, there are two types of offenses which are being committed, and there are revocation of these parivas and manatta also. They are called as abhan. So this both parivas and abhan require the sanction of the sangha, that is the assembly, in the beginning adi or in the end, that is the sense. So there are 4 chapters under the Parajika text. If you go through that is the first Kanda, that is the Parajika Kanda. There are 4 or 8 rules for the monks and nuns. Second is the Sanghadi Ses Kanda. There are 13 rules for the monks and 17 rules for the nuns. And there is a Anitya Dhamma under that, and Nisagya Kand. There are 13 in number. So all these are coming under this our Parajika text. Coming to this Pachitya, there is a text. Pachitya means praschitya, that how the offenses which have been committed by the monks and nuns, how they are being punished. So this is the 4th text of Vinay Pitaka, and it takes account remaining rules meant for the monks and nuns related with the Pachitya, Adhikarana Samatha, Nisagya Pachitya, Patidesaniya, Adhikaran Samat. So like these, there are headings which have been discussed under the Pachitya rules. So there are differences of the rules for the monks and nuns, because there are 227 rules for the monks, and for the nuns there are 311 rules. So for this Pachitya till the Sikhiya Dhamma, there are differences of the rules related with the monks for the nuns. So if there are 4 chapters also in this Pachitya, that is the Pachitya Kanda, there are 92 rules. Under the Patidesaniya Kanda, there are 4 rules for the for the monks, and there are Sekhiya Dhamma, which are 75 in number. But for the nuns, they are more than 75. And lastly, there is a Adhikarana Samatha, Kand 7. So these rules have been also framed whenever the situation arose in the Sangha or assembly. And according as per the offenses, the punishment were prescribed for the monks and nuns. That is why Vinay Pitak is also called as Jathaparad Sasanam, that it prescribes the punishments as per the offenses committed by the monks and nuns. So I am not going to detail of all these Pachitya Kanda, Patidesaniya Kanda, Sekhiya Kanda, or Adhikaran Samatha 7, which are 7 in number, because it will take much time. But only you have to discuss that how the Patimokha, which is known as a code of conduct for the monks and nuns, how the Patimokha is important for the monks and nuns in the sense of prescribing punishment related with the crimes or offenses which have been committed by our monks and nuns. So in this way, Vinay discusses about the 2 texts about the Parajika and Pachitya. The last text which I was discussing about the Parivar. So parivar is namely, if you literally define the parivar means family, but here it is the compendium of all the rules and regulations which have been listed in under the two texts, Parajika and Pachitya. And this is called as a compendium for the monks, or digest for the digest, or you can say therasis of rules and regulations for the monks and nuns, which have been discussed in the two texts, Parajika and Pachitya. So literally, if you see, parivar is in the sense of family, or it is in the sense of index. Lastly, in any text which has the index in the last, that is also called as a index, and it is here in the sense of parivar, which gives the rules and regulations. Even some of the rules for the Chulbag, they have been also discussed in a very detailed manner in our text. So this is a very brief history of our the four texts, Parajika, Pachitya, which are coming under the Vibhanga, and Mahabhagga and Chulabhagga. They are coming under the Khandaka. So there are some of the rules which are related with the four types of uh, uh, panatipata and sexual misdeeds related with the parajika, and even performing miracles with they have been also prohibited under the parajika rules. And if a bhikkhu commits any rules related with the four parajika, then he is being defeated by that rule. And this Parajika and Pachitya and Bhikkhu Patimukha and Bhikkhuni Patimukha, all the 227 rules and 311 rules which are meant for the monks and nuns, they are being recited on the Uposatha day, which is being convened by the assembly on the 14th day or 15th day of the month, Chatudasi or Pandarasi of each month. And if in assembly, in Uposathagar, these rules are being recited, then if any bhikkhu or bhikkhuni confess the rule which have been committed by the monk or nun, the Sangha prescribes punishments according to, as per the rules which have been given in the text. So this is the Pachitya. Even if you go through the Pachitya, there is a Uposat. Uposat is also called as a fast day, and which is being celebrated on the, you can say, every Purnima or 15th day of the month, generally in the Mahavagga. It has been in the Uposatha Khandaka, which is the second chapter of Mahavagga. It discusses that how Ajat Satru approaches to the Buddha, and how the Uposatha is being celebrated. Then Chatudasi, Panarasi, there are 14th or 15th of each month is meant for the performing our Uposatha. So on that day, they have to make fast also. They have to make uh, prashchit, or if anyone has to confess that which rule has been not followed by any monk and nun, so they have to they be they have to be punished by our assembly. So this is in a very brief manner. So you have to discuss about the how the rules, or you can say offenses, are being committed by our monks and nuns, and how the punishment are being given on the basis of parajika, pachitya, which have been given in the text Pati Mukha, that is the which is called as code of conduct. And code of conduct that bhikkhus are mainly restrained with their senses, bhikkhus and bhikkhunis, and how they have to put restraint on their senses, they have to guard their senses, and for that they have to follow their rules, 227 rules and 311 rules. So in a very brief manner, I have discussed with you